us. In Jesus' name. Amen. So let's put our hands together. Let's welcome our speaker for the day.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you, Pastor Franklin. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to my brothers and sisters about the opportunity that you guys should be definitely taking advantage of. It's an opportunity to just speak on some of the things I've done. So my name is Coach Kenny, or Kenny. Most people call me Coach Kenny because I've coached hundreds of people on real estate, on business, on credit, on how to start a business. But my specialty is real estate. That's my main profession. That's what I do. So I'm a real estate investor full time. I've been doing it for 8+ years, and I've bought properties in Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, Atlanta, all these different areas, even though I don't live in those areas. So it's very, very important to understand that the opportunity is limitless, And the biggest thing I want you guys to understand is there's certain things that are happening right now in the world that people need to understand why it's happening. So 70% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. So, that's right, okay. So 70% of people live paycheck to paycheck. So out of 10 people, 7 people are living check to check, which means that if they miss one check, they're going into financial ruin. It's devastating. And this is worldwide, not just US. Even though we live in a first world country, now even in a third world country, it's even less. And the biggest thing also is 67% of people can't afford $400 in case of emergency. 50% can't afford $1,000. This comes down to knowledge. Financial literacy is huge. It's huge. And the reason we're starting with this is because I see some younger people here also. And the reason is, I was going to start somewhere else, but I want to start with the foundation. It's just like a house. If you don't have a strong foundation, it doesn't matter how beautiful the house is, your house is going to crumble. So it's very, very important to build a solid foundation. And the reason this workshop is called Be the Light is because someone taught me these things, and it's changed my life forever. I did not grow up in a rich family. I grew up in a very, very poor family. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but I want to be the change for my family. I want to be the light for my family. So you guys, you should be the light for your families also. So the fact I'm giving you this information, you cannot say that you did not know. Right? It's very important. Now you understand the information you're going to use to be able to change your kid's life, your grandkids' life, and your future generation life because of this information. Right? So it's very, very important. We're going to start with the foundation, and we'll get into the real estate side, which is very important also. All right? So the first thing is we have to understand that what's the number one rule on wealth? Okay, that's the basics. But what's the number one rule when it comes to money? Money. Once you get money, what's the most important part with that rule of that money? Okay, streams of income, which is great. What's the other? Invest, great. But rule number one, this is I learned from people who have done really well. That's where I learned from. Money's a tool, obviously, right? But the number one rule for wealth is never lose money. Never, ever lose money. What's rule number two? That's a great one too. And we'll talk about that also. But what's rule number two? This is very important. These guys should take these notes on these. So rule number one is never lose money. Never, ever lose money. That's rule number one. Rule number two, don't forget rule number one. That's important. Because people are going to walk out of here and say, oh, yeah, that was cute. But they're going to lose money right as soon as they walk out of here. So rule number one, never lose money. Rule number two, don't forget rule number one. Don't forget it. Teach your kids also these rules. Very important. All right? So now, since we're talking about money, it's very important to understand, like Pastor said earlier, words are powerful. Words can change your life. Or words can destroy your life also. All right, so we're going to go over some basic words real quick, all right? So first is what? What's this? What's that mean? Exactly. What's this? Good. What's this mean? No, it's a workshop, so everyone's going to participate. What does this mean? What goes out? Okay, money in, money out. Keep it basic. We're going to keep it very, very foundational for people who don't understand these things, okay? Income, money in. Simple as that. Expense, money out, right? Then we have what? What's this mean? No. This is why it's very important to understand the basics. What does an asset do? Basic. I want basic. Talk to me like I'm a third grader. What does an asset do? What does this do? What does it do? Money in. So what does the asset do? Same thing, money in. Keep it basic. Basic, money in. And what? What does this mean? Money out. Very, very basic. All right? If you do not understand this, please ask. Just ask. All right? Just ask. But we're going to keep it very, very basic. Can I go, Frank? Napkin, please. Thank you. All right? No, this should be fine. All right? So as long as you understand these things right here, you can do well. All right? We'll go into a little higher detail in terms of what it is, but the important part is you understand those words. If you don't understand those words, please research or call or contact somebody or learn from somebody. All right? Now, what's the number one most important financial tool for yourself? No, just cute. Money. What's the most important document financially? See, this is why it's very important to know the knowledge. Anybody know what PFS is? Yep. Thank you. This is the most important document you'll ever need in life in terms of finances. If you don't know this, it stands for Personal Financial Statement. Thank you. Personal Financial Statement. Everyone should have this. Personally, every household should have this. Every business has this. Every real estate deal has this. If you don't know what a personal financial statement is, contact me. I'll send you a free one. Just contact me. It's free. Or you can find one online. All right? I'm going to go over the basics of it. All right? The basics of it is really important also. All right? And this is why it's important you guys understand all these concepts so we can make sure we're all on the same page. So no one's lost. And if you're lost, just stop me. That's all. Okay? We're getting into real estate really quickly. But it starts with this foundation. If I teach you how to make millions of dollars and you can't save it and do the right things with it, that means I did not give you the proper foundation. I didn't coach you well. Does that make sense? All right, so let's start with this. Anybody know what these are? We went over those words. Simple, right? Simple. So income is what? Expenses? Good. Now, the reason 70% of people are living check to check is because they follow a certain personal financial statement. This one right here, the poor, all right? What they do is they get their income from a job and they expense it out. That's all they do. Every single day, every single week, every single year, that's all they do. And they wonder why they're not getting ahead. Because they don't understand their personal financial statement. They don't even look at it. They don't understand what's going on. This is the lack of education, all right? Now, let's talk about the middle class. Anybody know by any chance how much middle class makes? That's, you gotta know the stats. Gotta know the stats, guys. So middle class is 250. 250. All right, that's middle class. So if you're below that, you know where you are. All right. So now the middle class, what do? All right. The reason they're middle class is because the same thing. They usually have a job, a high-paying job, whatever it is they're doing. They get their income, and they buy liabilities with it. What's a liability? Cars, jewelry, clothes, hair, junk. It's that simple. Because all their money that they get from their income, I don't care how, it could be $250,000 could be $2.5 million a year. You can still be a middle class because of your thinking, of your mindset. Your foundation is wrong also. It's not about how much you make, it's how your personal financial statement is set up. All right? It's very important. This is the middle class. All right? It's very important to understand these concepts. If you don't understand this, I can't teach you the proper way on how to really produce massive amounts of wealth and be the light for your family. All right? Now the wealthy. Wealthy. By the way, 99% of people, 1%. 1% owns about 99% of the wealth. That's lack of knowledge, all right? So now what the wealthy do, very simple, all right? The wealthy is they have assets. The assets do what? Bring money in, and then what they do? They reinvest it. So they take their income, they expense it, but they expense it right back to an asset. Exactly. And they rinse and repeat. They rinse and repeat. So yes, I have a cell phone. Everyone has a cell phone. But guess what? I have a business. Actually, I have 4. I have a business, and this business gives me a chance to bleed off some of these expenses. Everyone understand that? Very simple, all right? So instead of my expenses just going out, never seeing that money again, I'm going to see that money at the end of the year by reducing my tax bill. So now any extra income I have goes right back to buying another asset. Does that make sense? If you don't, please ask, because we're going to get a little more complicated. That's why I want to start with the foundation. This is the reason why the 1% control 99% of the wealth. This is the reason, right here. And they don't want to teach you this stuff in school. Certain reason for that. We're not going to get into that. There's a certain reason for this. Because they want you to have a job. All right? So it's very important. Everyone understand this? Good. Now, if you have questions, either write them down or ask, all right? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing like a stupid question. Remember that. Nothing like that at all. All right? Nothing at all. Now, the important part here is once we understand the concepts of finances, assets, liabilities, income, and expenses, we also have a cash flow statement, but I'm not going to get into that. All right? It's good to understand what the poor do and what the wealthy do. It's very different. Very, very different. All right? Very, very different. And the reason I know this is because I've read and I've studied the wealthy. All right? The Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, all these people. I know exactly what they do. So out of $1,000, how much do you think they save? They save 40%. 40% of it automatically goes to savings. Automatically. $1,000, 40%, so $400 goes to savings. Automatically. What that does is it helps them build future assets. It's that simple. They don't spend all their money. It could be $1 million, could be $10 million, could be $100 million. 40% comes off and goes right to an account that's going to be used to buy assets. So that way they can create generational wealth. When that money comes in also, same thing, 40%, buy more assets. All right? So now, let's talk about what the difference between the poor and the wealthy do. All right? So we talked about these statements right here. All right? But I'm going to tell you what the difference between the two. So, typical people, what they do, they buy a what? When they go look for a house, what do they look for? A big home, because they want to be fancy and show off to people, right? Nothing wrong with that. We should save that for later. When you first looking to buy I'm sorry, who owns a house here, actually? Let's see. Raise a hand. Okay, great. Good. About 50% of people own houses. Great. All right? But now, what the poor people do is they buy single-family house. We call them SFRs. All right? Single-family house. I went through the same concept when I was thinking about buying a house. So when you buy a single-family house, does it bring an income? No, it does not. Does it have expenses? Absolutely does. Anytime you buy a house, it automatically has about 7 expenses, automatically. gas, mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, lawn care, you name it, it has expenses. So what'd you do right here when you did that? You bought a what? You bought a liability. It's that simple. So now you go to work, about 50% of your money, they say a third. Sorry. Oh. That was food. I brought you guys food so you guys can, since you stayed, it's really important you guys eat also, but it's also important you guys understand that without money, I wouldn't be able to do that, right? So, so let's teach you how to get this money, all right? So listen, single-family residence, you pretty much buy an expense, all right? So now you bought a liability. Now, what you do when you're trying to get into the wealthy side, right? Multifamily. The first property I bought was a 4 units. 4 units. So multifamily, all right? So when I'm buying a multifamily, I'm looking for a minimum, especially for a first property. Anybody who's looking to buy their first property should buy at least 4 units. 4 units, minimum. 2 is nice, 3 is cute, but 4 will start really stepping your game up, all right? So when I buy multifamily, does it have income? Yes, it does, because I have what? Tenants, exactly. So when I bought 4 units, right, I lived in 1, the rest paid me, paid me, pay me, pay me. So what's this considered? An asset, exactly. I check off the asset column. I just add an asset to my balance sheet. Everyone understand that? So now, I'm going to break down this deal real quickly, and then we'll go into a little more depth in terms of what you should be looking for. But now, since I bought this income-producing asset, every single month, I'm getting paid. So now, what did I just increase? My income. Also, every single month, right, my mortgage gets paid down, which means what? My expenses reduce. Does that make sense to everyone? Good. Now, also, every single time you buy a house, focus on holding it from 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years. Now, if you're fixing and flipping, which we can get into later on, you're trying to hold it for less than 6 months. But that's not, let's keep it simple right now. So every single month, I got income coming in, so I just increased my income rate. I got my asset column to go up. I also got my net worth increase. Everyone know what net worth is? Yes, my net worth, all right? The goal, your goal, everyone's goal should be at least minimum 10 million. That's what you're aiming for. You want to be the light for your family? 10 million. Now, does this have to mean 10 million cash? No. 10 million assets. Quickest way to get there is not saving money, is buying more multifamily properties. It's that simple. You buy 4, 6, whatever, however many you can get, however many you can partner with and get, 10 million right here will change your whole life. Also, it'll change your income also. So when you have a job and you work in a single job, your income is capped. So they say you make $50,000 a year. After taxes, you probably make about 36. That's how much you make per year, no matter how much you work. Yes, overtime is cute, but they're going to tax you even more, so you're going to still make a little bit less. Does that make sense? But with real estate, my income is uncapped, unlimited. Comes down to how creative can I get, how many people can I partner with, how many assets are out there I can get into. All right? So that's the most important part. As long as you understand these things, this is how you build generational wealth, right? If you bought a single-family house, nothing wrong with it. You took the first step, but find a way to increase income for your property. I don't care if you have to fix the basement, rent it out, do Airbnb on a short-term rental where you go on vacation, you rent it out for that time you're not there because you already furnished it. You might as well rent it out, make some money, reduce some of your expenses. Turn that liability into what? Into an asset. It's very, very basic, all right? Increase your asset. Listen, when you're a level where you don't have to work anymore, like I could have stopped working 6 years ago, but I keep working because I enjoy doing this, all right? The reason is because I have so many more assets that bring in so much income that I don't have to worry about a job. That's where you should get to also. You should have a level of assets that pay you so much, you don't have to, you decide on what work you do. You decide on what vacation you go to. You decide on how long you stay. You decide on who you want to give money to. You decide how much you can tithe now instead of saying, man, I'm a little broke today. No, give 100, 200, 300, because you can make enough next month. You have another 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 coming in every single month. Does that make sense? So understand the difference. It's very, very important to understand these concepts. If you don't, please ask or get some coaching. All right? Now, when I'm looking at deals, all right? When I'm looking at deals, I'm looking for a couple of things. The first deal I ever bought was in Boston. Boston's a very, very expensive market. Very, very high-end market. All right? Atlanta is a beautiful market. That's why I moved here. I moved here about a year ago. Because of this, because of real estate. All right? So when I bought this is my first property ever. All right? I did the contrarian thing, and instead of buying a single family, I looked for income. All right? People saying I don't want to live with people, put your feelings aside. Let's focus on money. All right? Put your feelings aside. So listen, I'm living in one unit. Exactly, right? This property was for $395. All right? The reason the person was selling it because the sister, the brother died, and she didn't want to get into real estate. She didn't want to be a real estate investor. She didn't want to be a landlord. So she sold it for a good deal. This is a good deal. We'll talk about breaking down what a good deal is and what's a bad deal. All right, I bought it for $395. I put down $17,000 because I used FHA. Anybody know what FHA is? Yes. So FHA, I put down 3.5% down. After closing costs came to about $17,000 cash. All right? Now, this unit right here was $800. This one was $800. This one was $800 also. All right? As soon as I bought this property, this is income coming in. All right? It reduced my expenses because my mortgage was about $1,600 a month. So 2 of these paid for my mortgage. So now I'm living officially what? Free. Exactly. This one covered all my bills. Lights, electricity, water, all that stuff, paid for. Right? It's that simple. Now, this is the reason you want to look for this. When I'm looking at any deal, I'm looking at what we call value add. You should write this down. Value add. Where is the value add on this? Rents in Boston should be $1,800 a month. Should be $1,800 a month. The person running it before did not know what the prices of rent should be. All right? So what I did is I put in about $2,000 in each unit, so 2, 4, 6, about $6,000, right? In cost. We call it CapEx, capital expenditures, to fix the units, paint the walls, change the carpets, bring in some new refrigerators if stuff is broken, fix it, all that stuff, right? Now, by doing this, I automatically tell tenants, your rent's going up. One person didn't like it, they left. I said, cool, brought the next person in. It's a highly desirable area. So I was able to get a renter within 16 days. All right? All these rents bumped up. All of them. We bumped them all to $1,800. All right? All of them. So within 2 months, I paid off my CapEx. My mortgage stayed the same, right? But I got, now units pay me a lot more per month. My income went up. And also the value of this property increased. When you're buying a single family house, the way they value your property is by looking at down the street, and down that street, and down that street, and down that street, and saying, what's the closest house in the same size sold for recently? They call them comps. Terrence is my guy, he knows, he's a wholesaler, so he knows my stuff. But no, listen, so it's called comps. They compare it to, oh, this is a 1,600 square foot house, this is a 1,600 square foot house. It's about quarter acre. This one sold for 400, yours probably gonna sell about 390 because it's a little crappy, or a little crappier, whatever. So they compare, that's how they rate it. With any time it's an income producing property, they rate it on how much money is this thing bringing in. Because all of us should be investors. So I'm looking at what kind of income am I buying? I'm not buying a house. I'm buying income. I'm buying an asset. Remember that? Assets what? Money in. So I'm buying an asset of how much money am I bringing in per month. Now, by me doing this, I still own this property. So I've owned it for about 8 years. Right now, this property is worth about $1.6 million. I've done some fixing, some more stuff. I did the roof. I did some foundation work, not foundation, basement work. But overall, I've put in probably less than $15,000 total over the 8 years. Everything else has been paid for by the tenants. You guys understand how quickly you can generate a net worth of $10 million? That's just one property. I own 26 multifamily buildings in different areas. The whole point is you could do the same exact thing. The same exact thing. Just copy the blueprint. Copy the blueprint. All right? It's very important to understand these kind of concepts. If you, now also, actually, I moved out of there about a year later. So now this one's bringing in $1,800 also. Now my income increased on that side also. Now fully rented. I refinanced also. Anybody know what refinancing means? Yes, refinancing. So I took $60,000 out on a refinance. All right? After 4 years, I took $60,000 out. How much money did I put in the house? 17. Let's call 25 with everything. 25. So now, with the refinance, am I taxed on refinance? No, because it's debt. It's debt. It's not income. I'm taking a loan, right? With the refinance, my mortgage went up a little bit. Went to 21, I believe, 2,100. Am I still good and positive? Absolutely. Now I have to have all my money out. I still have the asset, still producing money every single year, every single month. My income, my net worth is increasing every single year because average increase on a property is about 5% a year. Average. Could be 3 to 5 to 8 depending on the area, right? My net worth went up, my income went up. Yes, my mortgage went up, but it's okay because I have the tenants paying my mortgage. And also, I have all my money out. So what kind of return am I getting on this property? What kind of return am I getting on this property? No, what kind of return? I put in, let's say 25, I got out 60, and I'm still getting money every single month. What kind of return am I getting? It's an infinite return because I have no money in the building. So I'm not getting any return on money in the building. All my money's out, but the money keeps coming in. Exactly. So now I'm just getting money on owning this building or buying at the certain time I bought it for. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. So if I had money in, yes, I'd be getting a certain return, but it'd be over 100, maybe 1,000%, depending on how much money I kept in there. But I took my money out because I always want to have money liquid to be able to buy more deals. Okay? Does that make sense to everyone? Like I have some people lost, but this is the game. The real estate game. All right? It's a workshop because I want you guys to understand something. It takes work. All right? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but it can definitely happen for you too. I have no problem coaching people because every single person that asks me about real estate, I enjoy talking about this stuff. All right? I enjoy it. Now, let's say most people want to retire 65. I want to retire as early as possible and choose what I want to do, right? All you really need is about 10 properties to retire on a comfortable way. 10 properties. 10 properties paying you about $1,000 a month. How much is that a month total? 10K a month. How much is that a year? 120. You could live very comfortable. Very comfortable. Now, I passed this goal a long time ago because I wanted to make more. My goal now is I want to own 2,950 units. Why this number? Great question. So when I first started, I wanted just one property. One property to make me money. I bought one property. I was like, okay, cool. I want to get 10 properties, right? Then I got 10 properties. Then I was like, man, this seems like I could do it more. You know what? I want to get 29 properties. 29. And I got 29 properties. Then I was like, I read a book called 10X by Grant Cardone. Anybody know Grant Cardone? All right. I read his book called 10X. All right? When I read that book, he said, any goal you want, multiply by 10. So when I got 29 properties, I added another 5 to it. When I read that book, he said, just add a 0. So it went to 2,950 units. All right? Now, this is my goal. It doesn't have to be your goal. I'm talking about just basics here. You don't even have to love real estate. But just to retire comfortably and create generational wealth and start creating that $10 million net worth, you want to have at least 10 properties. These 10 properties can average about 5% a year in terms of appreciation. You get cash flow. You get depreciation. Anybody know what depreciation is? Good, right? You get all the benefits of being able to pass these down to generation and generation and generation also. So your kids' kids can still eat off these properties that you bought once. Does that make sense? So you should have a goal for yourself. First of all, in this workshop, I want you to write down how many properties do you really want. Write it down. How many properties do you really want? Because every number is possible. Ever since I went through this goal right here, this goal list. So write down how many properties do you want? Let me hear some numbers. What's the number of properties people are looking for? 50 properties from Pastor. I said 100. Perfect. 100. 50. 1,000. Beautiful. How many? 50. Seems like 50 is the average number. 50 is a beautiful number. How long do you think it's going to take you to get 50 properties? Okay. 50 properties. Okay. So if you're looking at buying 50 properties, how long would it take you to buy a single-family house to buy 50 properties? Years, years, and years, and years, and years. You might not even make it. But why not buy 2 25 units? Then you're done. So search right now. So if you want 50, you should look at 2 25-unit properties. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, I'm talking about doors. Yeah, doors. So usually he's talking about single family, like every single door is considered. I'm usually doing multifamily, so I'm buying multiple doors at the same time. The reason we're doing that is for leverage. I don't want to own 4 different houses in 4 different areas. That's 4 different roofs, 4 different heaters, 4 different bunch of windows. Everything's more expensive. 4 different lawns to mow, taken care of. I'd rather have one building that has 4 units that can take care of everything in one place. Also makes management much easier. Make sense? So now if I have 50 single-family houses, my maintenance cost is going to be through the roof. Every single day we got to cut lawn, broken window, heater. This guy doesn't want to pay, blah, blah, blah. All in different locations. It's hard to manage. Instead of focusing on getting 2 25-unit buildings, one area, 25, 25, we fix everything at once. We renovate things, everything at once. Makes it easier for management. Also makes it much more money in terms of buying, instead of looking for just one 50-unit building, buy 2 25-unit buildings. Does that make sense for everyone? So this should be a goal. This is what you should be looking at. If you contact a realtor or an investor or somebody who has these, say, listen, I'm looking for 25 units or more. And then find out what's the price range on these. What's the price range? What's it going to cost me to buy 25 units? Anybody know what's going to cost you? No, you don't. You haven't started the research. So average units right now is going to cost about anywhere from 50 to about 75,000 per door. All right? So what's 50 times 25? Yes, I have calculators. What's 50,000 times 25? What's the number? Is that right? 50,000 times 25. What is it? 1.2? 1.25. Okay. 1.25. Anybody know what kind of down payment I'm going to need for this kind of property? You're going to need about 25% down. 25% down. So take 1.25 million times 0.25. How much money do I need? How much? So my down payment is going to be 312,000. Right? So take 1.25. Take 1.25 million minus 312,000. How much you have? Is what's going to be your leftover balance. 937? Let's go 937. This is what's going to be in terms of my debt. So I put down 350 for down payment. My debt is going to be 937. So take 937 times it by 0.06. How much is that? 50,000. 56? Okay, 56. That's my mortgage every single year. So take 56 divided by 12. 4,000, how much? Okay. So my mortgage is 4,000, how much? 680, all right? Good. That's my mortgage payment every single month. That's nothing. It's 25 units. That's beautiful. That's nothing. I have mortgages more than that, right? A lot more than that. But listen, so now let's take 25 units times it by, let's be conservative and do 350. 25 times $350. So I'm bringing 8K a month. 8K a month. Minus 4,000, about another 4,000. You know why? So 4K a month. I'm bringing in on my 25 units. And also, remember, we're looking for value add. So there's going to be a way to increase that income. It's going to change the floors. Rent bump, $25. Add washer and dryer. Bump up $10. Paint. Bump up $50. Remember, I only have to paint once. I get paid over and over again on that paint I painted. Does that make sense? So it's very, very important to understand the concept here. Do some research. Do some numbers. Work on this. Figure it out. It doesn't have to be the first 25 units to buy. First, work on 4. Work on 4. Then scale up. All right? Then add a 0. Then add another 0. Because it's all it is numbers. All it is adding numbers. So if it was the same thing, let's say it's 12 million, 0.5, my mortgage would be what? 46. Does that make sense? All I'm doing is adding zeros. Now my income would be what? 80. All right? Now my NOI would be 40 per month. Does that make sense? All I'm doing is scaling up, but just start with the small numbers first. Start with the 4 units. Figure out how everything works. Figure out how property management works. Figure out how the debt works. Figure out maintenance works. Figure out how these people pay. Figure out how the business works. Get your hands dirty a little bit first. And then you can scale up and say, you know what? I can do this in different states. That's how I moved to different states. I went to Indiana, went to Florida, went to Pennsylvania, went to all these places because I figured out how the process worked first in Boston, in the first 4 units. Then I scaled up. Then I scaled up and scaled up and scaled up. All right? Good, guys. Real estate. Real estate, real estate. 90% of millionaires have been coming from real estate. So you guys should own some real estate. All right? Go ahead. Location does matter. Location is very, very important. When it comes to location, great question too, by the way. Location. You want what we call B to C areas. All right? A is A class, very expensive, very unaffordable for most regular people. We're aiming for blue-collar workers. Ourselves, we're all considered blue-collar, all right? So B to C areas. So A would be right here in terms of, Whole Foods, Starbucks. That's where everyone chills, right? B is right here. You want to be on the border of B and C. D, don't do it. All right? Don't do it. It might be sexy, might be cheap. Making might be cheap, but you're not going to get paid. Right? That's D. And F, carry a gun. Does that make sense? Because you're not going to get your rent, and they're probably going to rob you too. So stay away from F. Focus on C and B areas. All right? And the way you know these areas is, the good thing is, most areas have specific things. So they have hospitals. All right? They usually have some kind of shopping within the area, within a 4 or 5 mile radius. Right? Because anytime you think of a shopping area, they do research on the area. What's the crime rate? What's the traffic like? What's the renters look like? Because they want to bring that income in for that store. So just follow those stores. So if you look at, let's say Starbucks is right here, search within a 5, 10 mile radius from that Starbucks. Whole Foods, same thing. They've done the research already. Just follow their trend and find the cheapest property you could buy that's a multifamily. That's the deal you want to get into. Does that make sense? All right. I'm having a conference next year, May 4th. It's going to be a real estate conference. It's called Invest in Your Future 2024 Real Estate Conference. It's going to have an estate planner. It's going to have real estate investors. It's going to have credit guys to fix your credit. It's going to have life insurance people. It's going to have bankers, so you can understand what kind of debt you can get in these properties, or how do you get the debt, or what kind of debt you can get. Some properties you can't get debt on. And you're going to learn all these kind of things from this conference I'm going to put together. It's May 10th and May 11th. If you can mark the dates, May 10th and May 11th. Hold on one second. Tickets are around $250 for silver. Gold is $350, but I'm doing an early bird special for my brothers and sisters. So just $100 if you want to come. Just let me know, come to me, and I'll get you a ticket for $100 and come in. Bring friends and family. Learn. You're going to learn about financial literacy. You're going to learn how to create generational wealth and how to keep the money, how to keep it for the next generation, and also how to increase your income too. If you're making $50,000 a year, you're dancing on the poverty line. So anything happens, you're going to be asking for begging for money. You should be making $250,000 plus a year. If you don't know how to do that, come to the conference. Learn from us. Learn from the people around me. I hang around people who make a lot of money, and I learn from them. I just pick up one piece of knowledge. Pick up a little thing here. How to run the business better, how to market, how to sell, how to find deals, how to get banking for these deals. What kind of credit should you have? Where should you be looking? How much does it cost to fix the floor? Where can I go get wholesale prices? All these things can help you make a lot of money and get you that $10 million net worth. All right? Thank you, guys. Pastor Franklin here.
Oh, why don't you put your hands together? I think there are some more questions.
Sorry, I couldn't hear last. What is it? Absolutely. Absolutely. You can start this. I know a kid who's 13 years old, owns real estate. Now, he can't physically sign because you have to be 18 plus, but his parents can sign for him. And the way you can get into it, and we'll talk about this at the conference, is wholesaling. Wholesaling, which means all you're doing is finding the deal, great deal for a person like me, like an investor. You come to me and say, hey, listen, I found this deal for $100,000. But if you fix it up, it's worth about $200,000. I don't mind paying him an extra $10,000 for that deal. Even $20,000, even $30,000. He gets the fee for finding me that deal. I get the deal under my contract. I fix it up. I make $70,000 off it. Does that make sense? And these are things we're going to be teaching at the conference. Fix and flips, rentals, industrial, commercial, retail. You look at these stores all around here. You could own a McDonald's place, and they can pay you rent. You got to figure out how to do that. All right? So you definitely can do it. Definitely start in college. I think you should start as early as possible. It's the best game possible. 10 years from now, you retire yourself if you want, or your family also.
Any more questions?
It comes down to how hungry you are. If I really wanted to, I could find a deal probably within a month, maybe even less, if I was really hungry. All I'll do is I'll do this. I'd Google top 10 real estate agents in the area you're looking at. So Lilburn, Tucker, Norcross. These are all BC areas, by the way. All right? And I'd say, give me the top 10 realtors in this area. I'd contact each one of them and say, listen, send me all the 4 units you have on sale. Anything that comes up, send to my email. They'll start sending you deals. And you start analyzing the numbers. If you don't know how to analyze numbers, come to conference. It's very important. If you don't analyze numbers, you will always go broke because you think you're looking at it as a retail investor. I'm sorry, you're looking at it as a retail buyer instead of an investor. I don't look at I bought properties where I haven't even looked at it because I just know the numbers. And it's made me money. That's how good you want to get. But the hardest part is finding the good deals and make sure the numbers work for it. And make sure you can finance it. There's no point in you looking at deals and you can't even get the deal. So first get your finances right, get your credit right, get your banking right, get the property management right, and then look at deals. Because then all that team is set up for you. So when you jump in, you know, okay, yep, I can get that loan. My credit's great. Here's my banker. Here's my property manager who's going to handle it. Here's my plumber. Here's my electrician who's going to handle everything else. Here's my handyman. So you don't just come in blind. Next thing you know, you're panicking looking for people. Does that make sense? So finding a deal just pretty much comes down to how hungry you are. Find 10 realtors. Contact all of them. Say, I'm looking for 4 units. Start with that. Then start selling them deals. If they say, I don't have any, say, okay, put me on your marker, on your list. Send me every single deal that comes up that's 4 units, or 2 units, or 3 units, whatever you want to look at. But I suggest at least 4. Start with 4 so you can get some kind of income in your pockets. If you start with small ones, you're going to be doing so much work, you're not going to see the return on your effort. You want to see some kind of return. A couple $1,000s in your pocket will change your life. That way you don't have to be the 70% who can't afford $1,000. Does that make sense? Yeah. Sure, go ahead. Sure. Challenges. We can go for days for that. Challenges. So when you deal with multifamily property, you're dealing with people, psychology. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but I've missed a rent payment before when I used to rent because money's short, right? So people are going to miss payments. You have to have a contingency plan for that. So which means you have some money on the side. Sometimes that saving, that 40% we talked about, right? Tenants. I've had some bad tenants. Friends of mine have had some bad tenants. One story I've heard of is one of the challenges. A tenant used to live on 3rd floor of one of the units that my friend used to have. The tenant had a motorcycle. He drove the motorcycle all the way up to the 3rd floor to his unit before he left and rode his bicycle all inside the house for about 2 hours straight. Put tire rubber all over the thing. Then also rode on the walls too with his bike, right? Just leave him a notice saying, hey, I'm leaving. That's what his notice was, right? So there's a lot of challenges. I've had, well, now I have property management, but before when I used to manage my own properties, I get a call in the morning, hey, roof is leaking, thunderstorm. Have to have contingency for that. So you have to have these kind of plans and contingencies for things that are going to happen. So as tenants, you're dealing with people. People are behavioral. They have bad days, they have debts, they have all these things. You're asking, where's my money? They're like, you know what? This guy, I'm gonna get back to him. So you're dealing with psychology, you're dealing with a lot of bad people. Make sure you understand how to do process and deal in terms of finding the good tenants, finding good places to live. Because people, if you live in a bad place, you're gonna get bad people. So understand the concept. That's why I said B and C. Also, with financing, one thing you never ever want to do is you never want to lose a property to foreclosure. You never want to file for bankruptcy. Those 2 things. So if it takes you a year, it takes you 2 years, take your time, do it right. Don't rush into it and you lose a property and you foreclose and you out of the game for 7 years. Don't ever do that to yourself. If you're teaching somebody else, same thing. Put the warning signs up and say, listen, if you can't afford it yet, don't do it. If your credit's bad, don't do it. Fix your credit first. However long that takes, as long as you have the game and the mind and the knowledge, you're fine. You can start doing the research, start doing open houses, go look at these houses, but if you can't afford it, don't do it yet, right? Get your money right, get your credit right, be around people, get a mentor if you need to, talk to people doing it for a high level, and be able to do it the right way. Foreclosure and bankruptcy will get you out of the game for a long, long time. So those are the kind of cautions I want to put out there for people, all right? Just reality of life. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yes. No problem, Sandra. Absolutely. So personally, myself, I've never done any partnerships. Everything's done with my own money, capital, cash. The biggest things I don't like to do is I don't want to call people and ask for permission. I don't need that, right? I'd rather do it myself. Now, if you want to partner with people, one thing you have to be cautious of. Family is very, very dangerous. It can break apart families. I've heard so many stories, Pastor, I'm pretty sure you've heard some stuff. When it comes to money, money can break families forever. Understand that. So you gotta be careful with people. Whenever you get into partnerships, remember it's almost like a marriage, right? So if you get into a multi-family deal, a single family deal, you have to understand the person, how their behaviors, how's their money situation. You have to be honest up front. Also, get lawyers involved. Your lawyer and their lawyer. Don't just go to one lawyer. Go to a couple lawyers and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to do this partnership with this family member or this partner. What do I need to put in place? Put stipulations. What's your job? What's their job? Are they doing their job? What happens when they don't do their job? All it should be in contracts. Your contract should be 10 pages plus. If it's one page, you're probably gonna get screwed. Sorry, the language. You're gonna get messed up, all right? So understand that. You wanna protect yourself. You wanna protect your money, you wanna protect your credit also, right? Because you can lose deals, you can lose money also, and you can lose friendships and partnerships. Also, you don't want a hostile environment. You don't want to be like, is that person in church today? I owe money? I'm not going today. No, you don't want that. You don't want that stuff. You want to make sure you're legit on both ends. Each person has a lawyer, each person has their own paperwork, and you actually figure out what's each person's job going to be. Are you going to be the person buying the deal? I'm going to be fixing it? Are we both going to be buying? Are we both bringing the down payment? Are we splitting 50-50? What's the split? When rent comes in, what happens to rent? You have to open up an LLC? Okay, let's open up an LLC. Each LLC has its own bank account. Do you have access? Okay, I have access also. Let's look at the statement every single month. You want to put those kind of things together to make sure that no one feels like, hey, this person's taking my money. The reason I don't do partnerships, the reason I only coach, is because there's so much fraud and so much scamming going around, right? People just take people's money and just run. I'm not that type of person. I don't need other people's money. I want to focus on teaching you how to do it yourself so you can learn the game and be able to teach somebody else. There's syndications and stuff like that where you can take people's money and put it together and buy a building. That's nice and great, but the thing I don't like about that is because I lose control. I don't control the building. The syndicator does. The syndicator controls on when I get paid. The syndicator dictates on when the rent goes up. I don't want that. I want full control of my properties, full control of my real estate, full control of my asset. All right, sorry. It's okay. Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. I think any open bedroom you have in your house should be bringing you some kind of income. If it is not, it means you're losing income every single month. It's that simple. You decide not to work for it. Excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. Like do not like remember, there's family, there's friends, there's business. When you bring somebody in to rent the property, it's a business transaction. So you can't get cute and say, oh yeah, no. Hey, rent is due the first. By the third, I'm giving you a notice. By the fifth, it's an eviction. It's a business. Otherwise, you're losing. Does that make sense? So I would not, to be honest, I would not rent to family, and I would not rent to friends. But you should have somebody that you trust because you have kids. Obviously, do a full background check, or figure out another way you can get somebody in there. Maybe Airbnb if you need to, so you're not in there when they're there. But just make sure you take the precautions on that. Like I said, with the friends and family, can get very complicated when it comes to money. They might say, oh, I'll pay you next month. Next month comes, I'll show up, man, my car act broke down. Next, can I get a loan? Just give me another 6 months. The whole time they're living on your house, they're using your bills, using your water, you're losing money. Now you have what? A liability in your house. So I'd stay away from that. I'd focus more on people who are gonna pay you, make sure they have a job, make sure you have some decent credit, make sure they give you, let's say, first and last security. That way you have some kind of money in your pocket at least first. Does that make sense? Cool. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Please. I heard it. I heard it. All right. His question was property management. So he's asking, is there companies that can actually do that for you? So this is obviously, yes, there's hundreds of property management companies, but like with any business, there's good ones and bad ones, right? You have to find the good ones. If you don't know the good ones, contact, come to conference, network, figure out other people using. Also find out their fees. Their fees can be anywhere from 3 to 5 to 10%. The smaller the units, the more they're going to charge you because they have to do more work. If I bring them a 100-unit portfolio, they're going to charge me less. If I could bring them 4 units, they're going to charge me more. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure that whatever you bring them, you figure out, do they have in-house maintenance or do they third party it? If they third party it means they get a plumber, they say, hey, we have a unit to fix, they're going to charge you the bill. If they have in-house maintenance, they have their own guys that are on payroll, they fix the stuff at a lot cheaper price. Does that make sense? But just do your research, make sure the people are actually solid, figure out also how many units are they managing. If they're managing 40, if they're managing 4,000, they have systems, they have processes, they have everything set up, and they've been doing it for a long time. Does that make sense? You want to be careful of the mom and pop. Mom and pop might not pick up the phone. Mom and pop might take your money and say, I'm out. All right? So be careful on that. Sure. Mhm. Okay. So when it comes to funds to start the game and start the real estate game, it comes down to what you have currently. So you have a job, right? So you have some kind of income. You should put some money aside every single month to buy that property automatically. All right. You could obviously get loans from other people, friends and family. But like I said, be careful with that. You can get the game quicker, but also you got to make sure you pay them back. Otherwise, there's no Christmas dinner. All right. Third thing is you can also work in real estate. So you can be a realtor, right? Start making money and figure out how can I make money on commissions. You can do wholesaling, which we talked about later, which we'll talk about at the conference also. If you guys come to the conference, we'll talk about all these different methods of getting money in real estate without actually having to own the property. All right. There's also other ways in terms of borrowing from like credit cards and these things. But remember, these things can be very, very expensive. All right. So you want to be careful. That's why it's very important to set yourself up right originally. Make sure you have the money and also the funds on the backside, just in case something happens. That's why I suggest you can work in the real estate game, realtor, wholesaling, all these other things, or we even work with a fix and flipper, work in a real estate company, or just take your own funds, or maybe gather some funds from friends and family and see where you can do that. Yes, so everyone here lives in different places, right? You guys take different routes home, right? What I want you to do right now, when you leave, is when you're driving, I don't care what road you're driving, start looking left and right. Find the houses that are beat up, distressed, overgrown grass, blue tarp on there, and write down the address. Then search. What you can do is be able to get that property, right? And come to me and say, hey, Kenny, Coach Kenny, I have a property here at 123 Main Street. It's beat up, and I think it could be a good deal for fix and flip. Now, it doesn't have to be me. It could be any investor. That's why it's very important to network. And Pastor said this, shake people's hands. Listen, you want to make more money, shake more people's hands. It's that simple concept. But you find that deal. You start looking for deals. Because now what you're doing is start identifying where the distress is. Now, once you get that deal, and you let's say you come to me, I'll tell you, I'm sorry, is it Sandra? Jennifer, sorry, no, you're Sandra, Jennifer. So I say, Jennifer, listen, this is a great deal. I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to find the owner. I'm going to contact the owner and see if they're interested in buying the property, if they're interested in selling the property. If they are, I'm going to give you a commission for finding that deal. Now, the commission depends on what the price is for the deal I'm buying. Now, it doesn't have to be one deal. You can find 10 deals and make a commission on those. But the whole thing is you have to start being aware of where the deals are. So wherever you're driving right now, look around, and you trust me, you're going to find deals. Everyone can find a deal. It's just about keeping your eyes open and saying, I'm going to contact an investor, like myself. I'll give you guys my contact. And I have investors on my side. I have a database of about 2.6 million people of investors worldwide, not just nationwide, worldwide, who might say, yeah, that deal I'm interested in. I might not be interested in it, but I might say, you know what, Jennifer, found this deal. You guys are interested in this one. Might not be enough money for me. Might be some perfect deal for somebody else. Might be a great deal for somebody to come in and say, listen, I'm going to buy it myself, fix it up, live in it for a year, and leave. You never know what kind of buyer you could find. But the whole point starts with looking and recognizing deals, which comes down to distress. So overgrown grass, broken windows. Just look at the neighborhood, you see a house that just does not fit, too small. Maybe an older person lives in there, you know, they're doing this. Comes and says, hi, my name is Jennifer. Have you ever thought about selling your house? You know, maybe, possibly. Okay, cool. What would you like for that deal? You know, 400,000. Yet the house is worth 700,000. Does that make sense? You come, you know what? I have an investor who could buy this deal cash. And I'll come with cash. I just bought a deal in Brookhaven. But listen, the whole point is same thing. Found a distressed deal. Bought it cash. Put in 113,000 into it. It's going to be worth about 630. Going to take about 125 after everything's paid in about 2 months. Does that make sense? But the whole point comes down to driving the areas, looking for deals, find the situation where the deal is stressed, and then be able to make that money off it. No, it doesn't have to, it could be commercial buildings, could be vacant commercial, could be vacant land, anything real estate, anything you can stand on is real estate. So it could work for all of it. Well, I mean, that's when you're dealing with people who are untrustworthy and stuff like that. So stay away from those people. For me, it would do me a disservice to say that to do that to you, because that means you're not gonna find me and send me any more deals. Does that make sense? So if I lie, you say, yeah, I already know about that deal, and I get the deal, and I make money off it, I'll probably never, and I don't give you a piece. That means you'll never send me another deal. You never keep looking for me. I'd rather have 20 people looking for deals for me than me try to screw you out of $10,000. It's not worth it for me. I'd rather make us have a nice continuous relationship where you say, Kenny, I found another one. I say, great, here's your check for the last one. I found you another one, here's your check from the previous one. Does that make sense? So it's better that way. If you find people that are doing that, don't do business with them. They're not trustworthy. Most likely they're not in church either. So, right, Pastor? Sure. Mhm. Sure. I think home equity lines could be great for you. It could be another way to get cash out of the property. But you remember, you're adding more debt now, too. So you got to be careful on that. Also, got to make sure the rate is stable. It's not adjustable. People in 2008 got messed up because of adjustable rates. So make sure that rate stays long, it's lower, and also figure out what the payment's going to look like. And whatever I'm buying with that home equity line of credit, it's not a vacation. It's not a vacation. It's not a Birkin bag. It's got to be something that produces money for me to be able to pay off that debt. All right? So make sure. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But that's why it's very important to know the numbers, because you don't make sure you don't get messed up on that. Because that deal can mess up now your current deal also. So make sure whatever you're buying, the numbers make sense. The numbers make sense, which you can crunch the numbers correctly. That means now all that income's coming to you, and that home equity line will be taken care of by the asset you bought. All right, it's very, very important. But guys, come to the conference. Trust me, you're gonna learn so much more than I can teach right now or today. All right. One last question, sure. So, oh, basics. Yeah, sure, sure. So, distress is the biggest word. Distress. This could be the property itself, which means broken down, messed up, all that stuff needs money to be put in. That's a certain kind of stress. Other way, it could be the person themselves. They could be struggling to make payments every single month. That could be another way of finding stress. Another thing also is when you talk to people, tell them what you do. tell them what you're looking for. That way they can start looking for you also. So basically, it's finding what deals look bad, and also talking to people and seeing where are people struggling, where are people moving to, where are people moving out of. Because people moving out of certain place, that means they're moving a certain area. That's the area you want to be buying. That's where you want to look for the stress. All right? So basically, just like I said, look at the place. Also find out what people are struggling with. Because someone's struggling with a payment, I can come in and buy the property sub 2. That's another whole subject. But the whole thing is taking over their payments. I can take over their mortgage payments, and they could not go into foreclosure, lose their credit, all those things. These are all different methods I've learned from other people. So you have to figure out what is stressful to anybody else. Could be divorce, could be a death in the family, could be somebody who does not want to be a landlord anymore. Those could be all different kinds of stress you could find to be able to capitalize on and make some money. All right? Exactly. 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 Very, very great point. It's actually a good point to finish on. Do not rush into this game. Think you know it all. I'm just scratching the surface here. Barely even scratching. You have to learn the game. And the biggest thing is when you're jumping into the game right now, it's very expensive because the interest rates are so high. I jumped in the game when it was like 3.79%. So even if I made mistakes, I still made money. Even though I didn't make it, I made something, but not as many as you can right now. So if you jump into a game right now, you're buying at 8%, your payment is going to be ridiculously high. You have to figure out, am I going to be able to pay this? Any house over 400,000 is going to be ridiculously high in terms of payments. So I'd say focus around 250, 350. That should be your range right there for everyone around here. That should be comfortable, where you have enough money for down payment, and also comfortable where you can pay per month. But make sure you do not go with this without a coach, without some kind of extra knowledge, because you will, listen, if you learn how to swim, right, you don't just jump in the deep end, right, you'll drown, right? We don't want to do that. We want to start with crawling, right, walking, then we can sprint once we learn the basics. Does that make sense? Cool.
Okay, so let me ask one question. So, would you say when you are starting, you buy a property that, assuming you don't get people to rent, you can handle the mortgage yourself for some time until you get people in. Because you could also get a property, but you are not getting people to come in quickly. So whatever you try to start with should be something that you can handle. And maybe the mortgage is going to be 2,000. You know you have 2,000 and spare every month. So even when you go into that deal, and maybe it takes maybe 5 months before you get your first tenant, you are covered. Know that you don't have 2,000, then suddenly it becomes a stress on you. That's what will cause you to go into foreclosure or do all kinds of things that you don't want to. Amen. I think it has been very helpful. What do you think? And I sincerely, oh please, one meeting, okay? I honestly think that you should go home, think about it, because you want to be able to create wealth that is generational, and also it keeps churning out the wealth. You don't have to be doing a lot of stuff for the thing to be coming. It should be working for you. As the rich people say, your money should be working for you. So real estate looks like a very good thing that you can do. if the down payment is possible, the deal is good, and you have Coach Kenny. Yeah, I don't know how long you'll be in Atlanta. Maybe one day you get up and say he's going to Delaware because the market has changed. But you have him here, at least to walk you through your first ones, or you're thinking about something. Like he's saying, don't rush into it. If you want to do something, talk to him. Let him use his years of advice to help you, to guide you. I think it's possible for all of us to transform our families, But like you said, wisdom is only beneficial if it is not late. When you get it early, it's beneficial. Like he started 8 years ago, 3.5%. It's been more beneficial. It doesn't mean you can't start now. You just need to do your numbers, do your analysis, get in. I know of somebody, there was a time, this is I think Reverend Hans telling me, but there was a time Bishop advised some people also to buy these multi-family units. And most of them did not. And there was one guy who years ago started buying like one, and today he has lots of them. And like the money just keeps coming in. He doesn't have to do anything. So it's timely advice. Don't throw it out. Think about it. Do your analysis and make a decision that will be good for you. Amen. But Kenny, want to say thank you for he's giving out his number so you can. 781. Wait, maybe they are writing your name first. Oh, sure. So Kenny. From Revival. Or from church. Amen. Everybody has it. And I think if you have a kid, high school, middle school, college, you should try and get them to also listen. If it's possible to take them to the conference. Because you may not be able to do much. I mean, it's the truth. But you can work with them and they take on. Because they have more years ahead of them. And I think as your pastor, I haven't just been thinking of your spiritual, I'm trying to think of your economic. So when you get rich, don't forget me. Oh. The tithe goes to church. I'm talking about myself. When you get rich, don't forget me. 5 years from now, you have 10 properties. And And when it's my birthday, buy me a card. I'll bend that card, you see. Anyway, but I think it's been good. Thank you so much, Kenny. You have his number. If you need to contact him, contact him. I think there may be some pizza and drinks in the lobby. So grab some. Keep talking. Keep networking. Keep talking to people. Amen. God bless you for coming.